And with the UK government struggling to contain the rise of Islamophobia at home, some Britons are not making the job any easier. A group of activists has started patrolling the streets of East London in armoured vehicles, claiming they want to protect people from being harassed by radical Muslims. But some locals fear the campaign is only igniting tensions, as Sara Firth now reports.
I want the activists on either side of the vehicles giving out the Christian patrol leaflets.
There's a new patrol in town. Hot on the heels of the small but notorious Muslim patrols, a new political group calling themselves Britain First have responded by forming what they've dubbed Christian patrols. And this patrol comes complete with armoured vehicle.
Bomb-proof, they're bulletproof, the whole thing is armour-plated.
RT joined them as they took to the streets of East London. Where are we heading, Paul?
We're heading down the Whitechapel Road.
Why that area in particular?
Because that's where a lot of the Muslim patrols have been happening. There's also what you can call the heart of Muslim East London.
The group have been described as far-right. Many of their members are former BNP or EDL, but they're eager to differentiate themselves from these groups and insist they don't want to be associated with violence. But tactics such as baiting, where members stand with empty beer cans to try and lure out the Muslim patrols, have proven controversial. And some members of the group have already faced arrest.
We're not here to cause problems for anyone other than the violent Muslim extremists who are carrying out these Sharia patrols. We're only there to confront them, and that's it.
Do you think the Christian patrols are intimidating?
No, I don't.
Despite having openly condemned the Muslim patrols at the time, the East London Mosque has been singled out by the Christian patrol for criticism. The mosque say they feel caught in the middle and are worried the patrol could inflame fragile community relations.
Our community certainly feels threatened by his antics, turning up to any part of the country in an armoured Land Rover is certainly putting across a strong message. What the public needs to understand is that none of these groups represent the mainstream community or wider society.
Out on London streets, and well, there's not much support to be found here either.
Leaflet, madam. Christian patrol, stopping the Muslim patrols.
You shouldn't have this. You shouldn't allow this. I'm sorry.
I don't think there should be any patrols.
No patrols whatsoever?
No.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much for that. Do you think it's all going to be completely peaceful here on in, or do you think there are going to be moments where...
No, obviously I think there's a potential for trouble. There always will be. There's nothing we can do to avoid that, but...
You could not patrol?
Yeah, what, and then just leave these members of the public to be harassed by the Sharia patrols?
But the Sharia patrols haven't been operating in this area for some time now.
Well, that's not what we're being told.
Since a number of arrests last year, the Muslim patrols have gone to ground. It's unclear if their patrols are actually still operating. That will likely come as some relief to police and community relations workers in this diverse area of London, that despite the Christian patrol activity, the Muslim patrols have so far not taken the bait. Sara Firth, RT, London.
A group of far-right activists patrolling the streets of East London in armoured vehicles amid rising Islamophobia across the UK. We can now cross live and get some reaction from Independence Party MEP Roger Helmer. Mr. Helmer, thank you so much for joining us here in the International to discuss the situation with patrols. You know, looking at the situation in Britain, some would argue that these patrols, these Christian patrols, are justified reaction to incidents like the brutal murder of a British soldier, Lee Rigby, last year by Islamic extremists in London. And what do you make of these groups and these patrols? Are they actually breaking the law there?
Well, we in Britain don't like vigilantes. We like having a police force which should keep the peace for everyone. And it's absolutely fundamental that we have one law that applies to all citizens of the country. So there is a real concern, first of all, with vigilante groups, and we've had groups of Muslims trying to impose Islamic values on people on the street, and that is wholly unacceptable. We must have a situation where the same law applies to everybody. We cannot have bits of Sharia law incorporated into British law.
Well, you see, the British society is a very multi-ethnic one, and in trying to appease everyone, all sides, I mean, the government is actually ending up isolating one group from another. But how can you actually make everyone happy?
Well, I think if a politician had the solution to making everyone happy, then he'd be worth a lot of money. But the fact is that we must have a society in which everybody is free to express themselves, to follow their own beliefs and their own values, without seeking to impose those values on other people. That is the critical point, and people in Britain become very upset when small groups start trying to impose what are seen as alien values on the rest of society. That cannot be acceptable.
Well, you know, last year, Muslim patrols in London sparked a crackdown by police. What is the attitude towards Christian patrols in the UK this time around? Any different?
Well, my concern would be that we shouldn't need those patrols if we were policing the streets properly. And that is the issue. We need the police to get a grip. We need the streets to be safe for everyone, whether they're indigenous or immigrants, whether they're Christians or Muslims. But we must also insist that people do not seek to impose their beliefs on others. That is absolutely critical.
And in your opinion, what can the British Muslim community do in order to improve their image and counter Islamophobia in the country?
Well, I think what they must do if they wish to live in Britain is to make some attempt to integrate into British society. That doesn't mean abandoning their faith, and it doesn't mean abandoning their cultural values, but it does mean absolutely condemning terrorist activity, disruption, and having nothing to do with, for example, the attempts by some Muslim youths to impose Islamic values on passers-by in the street.
All right, that was UK Independence Party MEP Roger Helmer talking to us here on RT International. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your views with us here.
My pleasure.